I'm Uncle Peter, and this is The Love of Theater with Uncle Peter. I fell in love with theater when I was about 4 years old. I figured that I was performing ever since I could walk and talk, but really I saw my cousin Raymond in a production of Arsenic and Old Lace. And that's another murder mystery. And he was so amazing, and the rest of the cast was, and then the costumes. It just blew my mind. And so it started that spark that I needed to be a performer. And I first started out, of course, in elementary school with band and, choir and that kind of stuff. And then that moved on to, once I got to junior high school, I got my first leading role in a show. Then, of course, in high school, that was, I was in the show choir, and I was in all the shows and did shows around town and for other theater companies. And then I stopped doing it for several years. I went to nursing school and got married. And I went to nursing school because, really, to be honest, my mother was willing to pay for it. I had already been a CNA for a couple years, and it was a job that I knew that I could handle, and it was good money once I became a nurse. And and actually, to be honest, it's been 41 years, and it's been a great career. It really has been. It's afforded me to buy homes and cars and live a great life. But that's done now. My first husband passed away, and rest his soul. So I had nothing to do. I needed something to do, and they were doing a show. And actually, the security officer at work, the head of the security department at the hospital, was the stage manager for this particular show. And so he introduced me to the company, Diablo Light Opera Company. And the show that I helped crew was called Big. And you might remember Tom Hanks as the little kid. He changes into the little kid and all that. Well, they made that into a musical. Not a great one, but they made it into a musical. So I crewed that show. The next show I did, I was in the ensemble, but I had a featured role because I was the head butler of the house. I had a little dance solo and this and that. And then the next show I did I was King Herod in Jesus Christ Superstar, which is a featured role, but it's a good featured role. And I won an award. And then it just followed suit. I just started working with those 2 or 3 theater companies in the Bay Area. And then pretty soon I was getting lead roles because I stopped taking chorus roles. And to me, if I'm going to take a role in a show and commit those 3 to 4 months of my life to this show, it's got to be a role that I feel excited about. You know what I mean? It's got to be something that touches my soul, and that I know that this character can inhabit my body and can inhabit my thoughts and that kind of a thing. So, one of the things I love about musical theater especially, well, let me just put it this way. I love live performance. I don't care if somebody's going to sit up there and read the phone book to me. I will sit there and be thrilled that they did it. If they can pronounce all the names correctly, they're aces. But I love musical theater because a director friend of mine told me, she says, the reason that they sing in musical theater is because, I'm start crying. Sorry, Chris, I get so emotional. The thing about musical theater is that, and a director friend of mine told me this, is that in the musical, the person has, what they have to say is so intense and so they're just brimming inside that they can't just say it, they gotta sing it, and so it just comes out that way. And so that's what I love about it. I say this, when I go work at the hospital as a nurse, I get off work, I'm tired, I can't wait to get home and go to bed. I'm exhausted. It takes everything out of me. When I go to the theater at 6:30 at night, 7 o'clock at night, and don't get out of there until 10 or 11, I'm up until 4 in the morning because it fills me with energy and it fills my soul. So that's what I say, it feeds my soul. I mean, this is what I should have been doing my whole life, But my mom was willing to pay for nursing school, and I was already a CNA, and so I became a nurse, and like I said, I'm proud of that career. But now that I'm in my late 50s, and I've now found the Barnstormers in Grants Pass, Oregon, it's time. It's time now to commit to this. Well, I moved to Oregon about 2 years ago to help my family. My mother was elderly, and my sister had fallen, and so she was the main caregiver. So they needed us to come up here, and so we moved up here. And I'd seen a couple shows. My mother and stepfather had season tickets. And so, we went to see Our Town, and then I saw Night of the Living Dead last year. And I was at my cousin's house having dinner one night, and her daughter had gone to see 9 to 5, which was their musical last year. I'm looking through the program, just because it's musical theater and I have to look through the program and see who's who and what's what. All of a sudden, it was the announcement of the 74th season, and La Cage aux Folles was there. My favorite musical. I've played the role of Alban 4 times now. And I told myself, oh, well, I'm just going to go make them give me this part. They're not going to be able to say no. And so I sent in my application for the audition and all this. Well, then the auditions come around, and my stepfather had taken a turn for the worse. So I said, I can't do it. I just can't. I'm not going to even go, because it's like, I'm not going to tease them. I'm not going to tease myself. But the last night of auditions, I got a text at 10:30 at night, and it was the Barnstormers. And they said, where are you? Why aren't you here? And so I explained it to him. I said, I moved here from my parents, and my stepfather's taking a turn for the worse, and I just can't make it. It's a huge commitment. It's every night for 3 months, I got a text back immediately, and she says, I just shared your information with the director, and she says, if you'll come on Saturday and do your audition, she will work with you throughout the whole show. So if you need time to take care of your parents or whatever it is, we will make sure you get that time. As long as you could commit to the performances, you know. So I went on Saturday, and I did my audition, and it was great, of course. And so she, within an hour or two of me leaving the audition, she had texted me and said, you have the role if you want it. But we don't have a George, the husband character. So I had to go back the next week, and there was George. He was out there dancing already. And I'm like, well, what's Robert doing dancing out there? And she says, well, he's reading for George tonight. And I said, he is? And I said, well, that's good, because I'm already attracted to him. So that's going to really help the love relationship. And it did. It really did. He was amazing, and the show turned out to be so great. And of course, my parents both passed away during this time. Pop passed away March 31st, and then my mom, she passed away on closing weekend of the show on that Saturday. So she passed at 2 p.m. and I had to be at the theater at 5:30. The weekend was a tough weekend, but I can say this, that I felt her with me. And I know people say that all the time, but I'm telling you right now, I played this role 4 times, and never once did I have an out-of-body experience like I did that Saturday. I really did. I said, all of a sudden I was talking to George, and I just wasn't Peter anymore. I just felt like something had inhabited me, and it just came out. And then, of course, when I sang I Am What I Am at the end of the first act, that was her favorite song. So I think she was sitting on my shoulder at that point. I deal my own deck, sometimes the ace, sometimes the deuces. There's one life, and there's no return and no deposit. One life, so it's time to open up your closet. Life's not worth a damn till you can say, hey world, I am what I am. Excuse my word. Yeah, that's my favorite lyric, is it's time to open up your closet. Because everybody out there in the world, gay people have been here since the dawn of time, just like straight people. So, it's what we've been taught to believe, is that they're weird or they're not normal or whatever the deal is, So I'm here to tell you, as a gay person, I'm here to tell you, we're normal. We're just as normal as anybody. Maybe we just have a little more style and a little more flair in the way we do things, but so be it. In Grants Pass, Oregon. Are you kidding me? I mean, that's like this was the first gay show they'd ever done, ever. How many shows are out there that have gay themes or whatever, or even has a gay character? None of them were ever done, because this town, it's a beautiful town, don't get me wrong, and the people here are lovely, but there are a lot of bigoted people here, and they weren't going to stand for no gay shit, no gay shows. So when I saw that they were doing La Cage, it just blew my mind. It still blows my mind that we did it, and that we had maybe 10 people walk out at intermission and not come back through the whole run of the show. And then I thought there'd be picketers. I thought people would be like yelling things at us, Like La Cage, for instance. It was written by Harvey Fierstein, and everybody knows Harvey, famous actor, famous writer. Well, he wrote La Cage. I mean, it was originally a French play, and then it became a French movie, and then he took it and he rewrote it for the American Broadway stage. And that's what we have now. And then actually he came back and rewrote it in 2010 for some new actors that wanted to play, that were playing the lead roles. And it's the same story and everything, but there's some, I noticed, because I have 3 times played with the old script and then all of a sudden got the new script, so there was all these new lines for Alban to say. To make that theater magic that happens. And everybody's so worried. As we get close to opening, they're so, oh my God, we're not gonna, it's this, it's that, it's da 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 da, you know. But there's something that just happens. Some spirit entity waves its magic wand over that theater and it just comes together, you know. And the audience loves it. I can't tell you how many people came up to me after La Cage and just were so thankful that we did this particular show and how much this town needed it, you know. So that, it made me feel so accomplished and so like, you're doing the right thing, you know. Don't question yourself anymore, you know. The thing about these shows, when you do community theater, is that, you know, they run for 3 weeks, they run for 4 weeks, you know, and you get 12, maybe 17 performances, you know, and that's it, you know, as you count them down, you know. And you do become emotional because, you know, when you allow this person to come inside of you and literally you become this person, it's hard to let that person go and to let this family that you've been with go. I'm going to say all this again without the tears, but, you know, when you allow yourself when you allow this character to inhabit you, body, mind, soul, emotion, everything, you know, it's a journey every night, you know, and you give it, you know, you have to give it every single night. And when it's done, you know, you miss the family, you miss the husband, you miss the child, these people become those people to you. And it's hard. I mean, I find myself when I get done with a show that I get very depressed, you know. I mean, this time I didn't have time to get depressed, even though my mom died and all that in the middle of all this, because I had to move from La Cage right into Lemia. We were already the last week of La Cage rehearsing. You know, the funny thing about these theater companies is you're part of this family and you show up. You know, they've shown up for me, so I have to show up for them. You know, watch our website, thebarnstormers.com, and they can, they always have audition notices if there's auditions coming up. But if they want to do something other than be an actor or, you know, be in the front of the house, they can do that. If you're a seamstress, if you know how to sew really well, we have costumes that need to be made. If you have any kind of talent whatsoever, bring it. Because we even have artists, local artists, they put their artwork around the theater. Each show has a different artist and they feature these local artists and it's amazing. For our show, La Cage, the artist was Eva Creature, and she, not only is she beautiful outside, but she's absolutely beautiful inside. I told her that I liked this one particular picture that she painted, and it had a bird cage in it, and it had a beautiful gold bird flying away, and 2 kind of nymphs dancing that had male nymphs that had allowed this bird to fly away. At least that's my interpretation. And I told her how much I loved. Well, it was $600, and I told her, you know, right now I just can't afford that. Maybe when I get the money. And she, you know, she gave me that picture. She came up to me and she handed me that picture. And I, you know, too much, you know. But nope, she said, no, it's not. What you gave me is well worth this, you know. And it was amazing lady. She really was. And remember, if you do want to see more of her art, go to True Juice, because True Juice sells her art too.